ongoing. Inside Robert De Niro's super messy love life. Robert De Niro was praised for being attractive, enigmatic, alluring, and a total womanizer in his prime. Robert pursued, chased down, and broke the hearts of several women of color despite growing up in a time when interracial relationships weren't commonly accepted. This is a tale of adultery, miscarriage, a court battle over a secret love child, and a domestic incident that resulted in some broken ribs. Here is what is known about Robert De Niro's incredibly complicated love life. Jealous and possessive, Robert Anthony De Niro Jr., who was born in Manhattan on August 17, 1943, left high school just a few credits short of graduating. His mother pushed him to continue his education, but Robert was more interested in becoming an actor, according to the Los Angeles Times. He devoted all of his attention to acting and women during the 1960s. According to Shawn Levy's book De Niro, A Life, Robert would pursue women wherever he went. Jonathan Taplin, the director, said he chose these incredibly strong girls. He'd fight with them all the time. They would always be in tears the next morning, and he would buy them some perfume. It was also mentioned that his insecurities would sabotage his romantic relationships. According to the author, Robert would let his possessive and jealous sides come out if he thought his girlfriend was receiving too much attention from another man. How Robert De Niro met Diane Abbott. Before collaborating with director Martin Scorsese to star in Mean Streets, Robert spent the first few years of his career acting in off-Broadway plays, theater productions, commercials, and low-budget movies. He met and fell in love with actress Diane Abbott 3 years later on the set of the movie Taxi Driver. After their 1976 nuptials, Diane gave birth to their son, Raphael De Niro. Robert also took Indrina, Diane's child from a previous union, as his own. The playboy appeared to be prepared to settle down, but that wasn't the case. Robert's marital relationship with other women was revealed in the book by author Shawn Levy. Along with Martin Scorsese and the late actor John Belushi, Robert also enjoyed a lot of partying. The majority of Diane's time was reportedly spent in their marital home, while Robert divided his time between New York and California, according to sources. Things were awkward when he was with Diane at home. The De Niros hosted a dinner party in their Bel Air home in 1977 and invited the New York Times to attend. Diane was described by the journalist as being of statuesque beauty. She was also described as a lovely hostess who served everyone a buffet dinner. According to reports, Robert watched silently from his own home for the majority of the evening. According to a close friend, Bob is very Italian with Diane, very possessive and jealous, according to the newspaper. Robert's co-star in the television series New York, New York, Kathy McGinnis, said, "I think he's hiding something he thinks may be too weird. I mean, he's protecting himself with all that silence. There's some part of him he can't show because he's afraid it's insane." Robert's actions baffled a writer for Playboy magazine even more. The actor gave a shaky handshake, and the interviewer noticed that he rarely made eye contact. The writer added, "Ask him about his childhood, his parents, his interracial marriage, and he's ducking out the door."
Robert De Niro's love life gets messy without a full-fledged affair. An article titled, "Robert De Niro's Super Messy Love Life Wouldn't Be Complete, Right?" Well, back in the 1980s, Robert was in Los Angeles driving his convertible when he noticed a stunning woman in the vehicle next to him. She went by Helena Springs and wanted to be a singer. Helena said, "I'd go fast, he'd go fast. I'd slow down, he'd slow down. This he kept following me. I didn't even know him." Then Robert said, "Pull over," and he knelt down and prayed. As soon as Helena stopped, he extended an invitation to lunch. They went out to eat, and despite Robert being a married man, he and Helena got intimate that same day, according to the book by author Shawn Levy. In the course of their non-exclusive relationship, Helena fell pregnant. She reportedly terminated the pregnancy without notifying Robert. In the latter part of 1981, she conceived once more. She made the choice to keep the child this time. She reportedly revealed her plans to Robert, who reportedly erupted into a rage. Helena claimed the actor started to intimidate her verbally and physically in an effort to get her to end the pregnancy, but Helena went on to give birth to a baby girl named Nina on July 1, 1982. According to reports, Robert helped her set up the nursery and gave her $50,000 to help with the baby. Helena claimed that he declined to give her his medical information or a blood sample out of concern that she would use it to try to get more money from him. Helena added, "Black women are used to being courted by handsome, famous, rich white guys. I didn't pursue any further financial assistance from Robert. So they don't say no to whatever the man wants." How Robert De Niro met Grace Hydor. Robert and his wife Diane's relationship was still going strong. Even more, they shared a few more films together. But in 1987, he started obsessing over someone else. He met Grace Hydor, a hostess and Mississippi native, while dining at Mr. Chow in London. Grace hesitated to share too many details about their first meeting in an interview with the New York Times, perhaps because Robert was still married at the time. She merely said it was an ease-in. It wasn't a whirlwind. Grace told the New York Daily News that she didn't know who he was and that she was getting annoyed by his incessant inquiries about the menus and tables at the restaurant. She complained to a coworker about the obnoxious customer, and the coworker informed her that the obnoxious customer was a very well-known actor. Grace's situation changed as a result, and it's assumed that they exchanged contact information so they could stay in touch.
What happened between Robert De Niro and Whitney Houston? Although Robert and Diane broke up sometime around 1987, it wasn't necessarily because of his infidelity. According to a source close to the former couple, Robert wasn't interested in living the celebrity lifestyle like Diane did. Too many problems in their relationship were a result of their differences. Although they were still legally wed, Robert was ready to explore his options. There were rumors that he had his sights set on another woman in addition to his London crush Grace. It was revealed that Robert aggressively pursued Whitney Houston by sending her flowers and diamond earrings in the book De Niro, a biography by John Baxter. Whitney's parents and record executive Clive Davis reportedly advised her to reject Robert's advances because they thought that associating with a white man who is nearly twice her age would ruin her career. Falling for Taki Smith and Naomi Campbell. Whitney might have turned Robert down, but there were plenty of other women who were open to the idea. While he was still technically married to Diane, he started dating actress Taki Smith. He dated Taki for a long time before having twin boys, Aaron and Julian, in 1995 through surrogacy. Even though they were close friends, according to Vanity Fair, they'd never shared a home. The supermodels Veronica Webb and Naomi Campbell, who was only 21 at the time, were reportedly involved in affairs with Robert, according to news sources. Robert, 48, was even reportedly referred to as Naomi's man in an interview. Taki insisted she preferred to keep everything pertaining to her private life private when the New York Times questioned her about Robert and Naomi's relationship. Helena's return and Robert's thoughts on becoming embroiled in a love triangle. He had other concerns after all. His former flame Helena Springs reappeared in the picture in August 1992. She was by now married, going by Helena Lisandrello, and she demanded Robert give her daughter, who was 10 years old at the time, child support. The blood test Robert eventually agreed to take revealed he was not the child's biological father. Helena responded by informing the court that Robert continued to owe her money for telling her daughter that he was her father. After the paternity test results were made public, Robert stopped accepting any financial aid because the court didn't believe him.
Linking back up with Grace Hydor. According to the Baltimore Sun, Robert's relationships with Taki and Naomi ended in the middle of the 1990s, and he was kind of back on the market at that point. The hostess from Mr. Chow restaurant, Grace Hydor, was another person who had been hanging around for a while. After getting married in 1997, he and Grace had their son, Elliot De Niro, who was later identified as having autism in 1998. In addition, Robert divorced in August 1999. According to a source who spoke to People magazine, Robert wasn't prioritizing their marriage, but the divorce papers painted a different picture. A custody dispute broke out after the couple spent more than a year quietly co-parenting their son. Robert claimed Grace broke his ribs during an argument and accused her of having a bad temper. Additionally, he claimed that she punched him after discovering him conversing with a female chef while on a family yacht vacation. In response, Grace claimed that she had actually witnessed Robert making out with the chef in one of the yacht's bathrooms. Robert refuted her allegations that the actor used drugs and drank excessively. They were both advised to see a psychiatrist to go over their issues in more detail by a Manhattan court judge. They called off the divorce and renewed their vows in 2004 at a ceremony in upstate New York despite all the slander and accusations. 67-year-old Robert and 56-year-old Grace welcomed Helen, a baby girl who was born via surrogate, into the world in December 2011. 6 children were legally attributed to Robert by 3 different women. Did money issues come in between Robert De Niro and Grace Hydor? The De Niro family situation has now stabilized. Grace started Coffee of Grace, a coffee company with a humanitarian focus that was inspired by the people of Rwanda, while Robert continued his acting career. But the source of the alleged conflict between the couple was the coffee shop. According to reports, Robert was worried about the new business's high cost. "I wouldn't have to keep making movies if you didn't spend all my money," Robert allegedly told Grace in a Manhattan bar in 2017, according to a source who spoke with Page Six in 2017. Page Six was informed by a source on November 20, 2018, that Grace and Robert were not cohabitating. Robert, 75, said in a statement 8 days later that their marriage was going through a transitional period. According to reports, the actor's friends were happy to see him end his misery. According to an insider who spoke to Radar Online, Grace had been in charge of his finances and film production company for years, making his life miserable. The source added, Grace micromanaged him to death, and he deserves a medal for sticking it out so long. A 31-page custody agreement for their daughter had been approved by them by February 2020. The divorce settlement, however, wasn't going to be that simple. The prenup stipulated that Grace would receive a $6 million apartment, $500,000 in cash, $1 million in alimony annually, and half of the value of their joint home. Grace believed she should be entitled to more of Robert's $500 million fortune, but she stated in divorce documents that she only makes $15,000.
Robert De Niro and Grace Hydor's messy divorce battle. They went on fighting for nearly 3 years after filing for divorce. In April 2021, Robert claimed he was working himself to death to continue supporting his opulent lifestyle with his estranged wife. He testified before the court that Grace was blowing money on pricey jewelry and Stella McCartney designer goods. Robert allegedly reduced the amount of money he was giving Grace each month from $375,000 to just $100,000, according to Grace's attorneys. He also decreased her monthly credit card spending cap from $100,000 to $50,000. The coronavirus pandemic, according to his attorneys, destroyed his financial standing, and he also owes $6.4 million in back taxes. At 77 years old, Robert, according to his attorneys, ought to be able to unwind and enjoy his life. But in order to continue supporting Grace's lifestyle, he is compelled to work 12 hours per day, 6 days per week. Lawyers for Grace refused to accept it. They claimed that it was impossible for Robert to be struggling while taking a private jet to meet up with friends in Florida and using a helicopter to fly to brunch each Sunday. They are still working out the final details of the divorce settlement as of the publication of this article, and we wish them and their family nothing but the best. Leave a comment on our YouTube channel or send us a message with your thoughts on Robert De Niro's incredibly complicated love life.